So this is the main valve to shut the house off. This T and this line goes to the timer that feeds the lawn sprinkler. And then the water supply continues up and goes into the house. What I want to do is, I want to be able to isolate the house so I can turn the valve off when no one's at the house for extended periods of time, but I want to keep the lawn sprinkler operational. And because there's no way to separate this line, because it's going into the brick here and then down here it's into the mud, there's no way to physically separate the line to get the pipe into the ball valve. So we're going to use what they call a repair coupling or a slip sleeve. I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to unsweat this coupling. I'll wrap a wet rag around this T so I don't disturb this solder joint. I'm going to unsweat this coupling. I'm going to install the valve here, and then here I'm going to cut this slip sleeve down, and here is where we're going to install the slip sleeve. Now the slip sleeve allows you to put the sleeve onto the pipe, slide it down, insert the line, and then slide the pipe back up without having to move the line. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, you can see here there's a little paint on the line, there's some solder that had dripped down. In order for this slip sleeve to work properly, the pipe has to be completely cleaned. So I'm going to clean it here, and I'm going to clean it here in this location, and then I'll cut the line. Okay, so I've cleaned the pipe, got all the paint off of it, got all the old solder off of the pipe, and used the emery cloth to clean the pipe to get all of the oxidation off of the pipe. And because the line is so close to the brick, you can't use a regular pair of tubing cutters. I couldn't even use these pony cutters here because the knob hit the brick. So I had to find a smaller pair of pony cutters, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the pipe here at this location right now. Alright, so using the pony cutters, it's a slow process, but you just have to keep at it. There you go, it just snapped. But without the pony cutters, there's no way I would have been able to cut this line, unless I was to use a saw, but that makes a jagged, uneven cut. So these little things come in handy when you get in a tight spot. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is cut the line down at the bottom. So I'm using a larger pony cutter to cut the pipe down low because it's away from the house. And there it is. It just takes time. Alright, there you go. So now what you want to do is, where I'm going to install the valve, I have to remove a section of copper pipe to allow for the makeup on the valve. In other words, the copper pipe only goes up into the valve to this point here, and then the copper pipe at the top goes down into the valve to this point here. So you want to remove the distance between here and here so that everything will go back together like it came out. Okay, so this water supply line coming up out of the ground from this valve up has water in it. So to remove the water, I'm going to use this 3/8 supply tube. I'm going to hold my finger over it and get all the water out of it, or get out as much as I can. And then here's where we're going to use the bread plug. We're going to take white bread. We're going to make a plug. We're going to ball it up and take the crust off, ball it up, make a plug, and stuff white bread down into the pipe here. And then, as you can see here, water is still dripping from inside the house. All the faucets are closed in the house. If you were to open the faucets, you would let air in, and the water would continuously come out a lot faster than what it's doing now. It's dripping right now. But this is why we're going to install a bread plug, because when we start the soldering process and this is completely closed, capillary action is going to try to draw the water from the house down into the pipe, and it'll turn to steam and you'll never be able to solder the line. Alright, so you want to get everything as ready as possible before you shove the bread plug in here. You don't want the bread plug in here too long to start to get soaked up with water. So what I've done is I've cleaned all the solder joints. I used the deburring tool to remove the burrs from all the ends of the pipes. I install a slip sleeve. The slip sleeve is 2 inches long. I have a witness mark on all the pieces so that when I buckle everything up together, I can measure down and make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. So the slip sleeve is 2 inches long. I have a 1-inch mark on the pipe. So when I put everything together, I can raise the slip sleeve until I see that mark, and I'll know that the slip sleeve is centered on this pipe here. Also, what I've done is I've taken an old towel and wrapped it around the existing solder joints and saturated the solder joints with some water so that they don't loosen up during the soldering process of the valve and the slip coupling. So now I'm going to insert the bread plug at the bottom, at the top, and then put everything together and solder it up. Alright, so I'm going to ball up the bread and shove it up into the pipe. Take this marker and get it up in there real good. Then I'm going to clean the pipe. Also going to install a bread plug down here so that no water gets pulled up into the solder joint. So I'm putting a bread plug on both ends. Want to do this one time. If steam gets in the line during the soldering process, then you're going to have to pull everything apart and start all over. And I don't want to do that. Alright, so I have flux on all the joints, the valve, the pieces, slip sleeves all fluxed up, and the end of the pipe. Now I'm going to insert the valve up into the pipe, and then try to line the pipe up and get the slip sleeve to go onto the pipe. All right, so I've put everything together. This is the piece that I cut out to make up for the valve. The slip sleeve, I had to use a pair of channel locks to rotate the slip sleeve up because it was slippery because of the solder. And then here's the 1-inch mark that I put on the pipe. So I rotated the slip sleeve up to the 1-inch mark, and now I know it's centered. So this has flux on it, the valve has flux on it. I have rags wrapped around the existing solder joints. I have the bread plug here, I have the bread plug here, and the next thing I'm going to do is solder the line. All right, so there it is. When you have a line too close to the wall, you use the pony cutters. When you can't separate the line because it goes into the wall here, goes into the ground here, you use the slip coupling. And when you have water in the existing line, you use the bread plug. So now I'm going to keep this valve off. I'm going to turn this valve on and blow the bread plug out of that hose bib. This off, and I'm going to blow the bread plug out of this hose bib. And that's it.